It started with takeout. A quiet evening, a simple dinner, Chinese food, our usual Friday night routine. Nothing special, nothing dramatic, just the comforting clatter of containers and the smell of soy sauce and scallion oil filling the kitchen. But the moment the doorbell rang, everything changed. I was at the door, paying the delivery driver. My daughter was walking the cat upstairs, like she always does. He's a mischievous little thing who tries to leap at anything edible. And that's when my son, my 13-year-old son, shouted it, loud, clear, no shame. "Make sure to hide the cat from the Chinese guy." The words hung in the air like smoke, thick, ugly, choking. The delivery driver, he heard it. I saw it hit him. His smile faltered. His eyes dropped. The kind of drop that says, "Not again, not tonight." And my heart just sank. I apologized, quickly, awkwardly. But what do you say when your child spits out a slur dressed as a joke in front of the very man it's aimed at? I closed the door, and I turned around to face my son. His face, smirking, proud even, as if he had just nailed a punchline. I told him it was racist, not funny, deeply wrong. And do you know what he said? He shrugged. "It's just a joke." Just a joke. Like it was no different than a knock-knock. That night, as the takeout cooled on the counter, I sat with a sick feeling in my chest. Not just about what he said, but about what it meant. Where did he learn that? Where did that joke come from? And more importantly, what was I going to do about it? Because in that moment, I knew a timeout wasn't enough. Taking away his phone? Pointless. Grounding him wouldn't teach him what he needed to know. So I did something different. I made him write an apology. A real one. Not a half-hearted, "I'm sorry you got upset," but a genuine, handwritten apology addressed directly to the man he had disrespected. His name was on the receipt. That man had a name. And I wasn't done. I told my son he was going to write 2 essays, one on Chinese culture and one on how racism is perpetuated by jokes and stereotypes. He resisted. Of course he did. But I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just told him firmly that this wasn't negotiable, because this wasn't about punishment. It was about empathy. The next day, we went to the restaurant. He carried the letter and those 2 essays. And when we got there, I told him, "You're going to read it out loud." He looked at me, wide-eyed, panicked. Good. Because maybe, just maybe, he was starting to feel a sliver of what he had made someone else feel. Maybe for the first time in his life, he was confronting the impact of his words, not just the intent. And so, in that quiet restaurant, my 13-year-old son read his apology to the man he had hurt. The driver listened, not with anger, not even with resentment, but with something deeper, a tired kind of grace. And then he spoke. He told my son about the racism he's faced while just doing his job. The comments, the mockery, the slurs, the fear. And I watched my son's face change. This wasn't about being embarrassed anymore. This wasn't about getting caught. This was about witnessing. For the first time, he saw the person behind the stereotype. And I thought, maybe this worked. Maybe it got through. But later that night, my husband and I had a fight. He was furious. "Why would you humiliate him like that?" he asked. I said, "Because he humiliated someone else." He said, "It was just a joke. The punishment didn't fit the crime." And suddenly, I wasn't just defending my actions. I was defending the very idea that racism matters. I said, You think it's embarrassing for him to apologize? Imagine how embarrassing it is to be reduced to a punchline because of your race. Imagine what that driver felt. But my husband didn't get it. He saw it as overkill, as unnecessary. I saw it as urgent. And in that moment, I realized something painful. My son didn't come up with that joke on his own. He heard it somewhere. He absorbed it from somewhere. And maybe, just maybe, the source was standing in our kitchen telling me I had gone too far. I haven't stopped thinking about it, about how easy it is to let these things slide, about how we tell ourselves, boys will be boys, or it's just a joke, or he didn't mean it that way. But meaning doesn't erase impact, and jokes don't erase history. My son is 13. He's still learning. He still has time. But if we don't stop it now, if we don't make it real and uncomfortable and personal, then when? When he's older? When the jokes are sharper? When the hate is deeper? No. It stops now. With embarrassment. With apology. With education. So, am I the asshole? For making my son look a man in the eye and admit he was wrong? For demanding more than a muttered sorry? For refusing to let racism masquerade as comedy in my home? Or am I just a mother trying to raise a better man than the one I might be married to? You tell me. This story, it hits hard. Because it's not just about a joke. It's about a legacy. The legacy of what we laugh at, what we ignore, what we pass down. A 13-year-old boy made a racist comment, but the real lesson came when he had to own it. When he had to see the man he hurt. When he had to learn that just a joke can still leave scars. And maybe the most powerful moment wasn't the apology, but the conversation afterward, when the man shared his pain, his experience. When humanity cracked through the stereotype. As parents, friends, partners, we have a choice. Let it slide or step in. Embarrassment is temporary, but so is ignorance if we challenge it. So here's the question for all of us. Have we ever excused something as just a joke when it wasn't? Have we ever stood silent when we should have stood up? And maybe more importantly, what would we do if it were our child at the door? This is the AITA Story Vault. If this moved you, if it made you think, share it. Talk about it. And maybe ask yourself, who do we become when no one's watching? And who do we raise when they are?